Welcome to our next industry spotlight video. And today we're really excited because we have Bruce Rosard from the Arival conference. And Bruce, really happy to have you here. How's it going?
Mitch, it's going great. We're ready to turn the lemons of 2020 into the lemonade of 2021 and going forward. We've been working on a lot of things here at Arival, and we're about to launch some things that are new and different and exciting while we still wait for live events to return, of course.
So we'll talk about your big launch at the end of this. That way people have to watch it. But let's rewind before 2020 and start with the origins of Arival. Who are you? Everyone knows Douglas and the Arival conference, but where did it start? Where did it all start?
Yeah, well, I met Douglas when we both worked at a company called Focusrite. Focusrite is a research company as well as an event production company for innovation, travel innovation, and travel tech. And it was about 10 years ago that Douglas started to look at the tour and activity sector and the size of the sector and the fact that no one had done any research on it. So we did the first research project. My role was to go out and market the project and sell it to partners. His role was to do all the research. And that was the first report that came out that really was the beginning of this sector, if you will. It showed that it was a $38 billion industry in the US, and money started to flow in, starting with Viator's sale to TripAdvisor. That was kind of a big wow moment. And then from there, investors started to invest in tech companies and et cetera, et cetera. And the rest is history and where we are today. Fast forward to 2017, and we realized that there is no conference that really fit the community of tours, activities, attractions, experiences, all under one roof. There were plenty of conferences, obviously, unlimited conferences for the travel industry in general. Things, the big events like ITB Berlin, WTM in London, Fitur in Spain, but they always would put our community in a little corner, and we would have our community sitting around drinking coffee, drinking beer at night, talking about tours and activities, but it was always secondary. We knew there needed to be a primary community and event for the sector. And we started in 2017 where, people knew who Douglas was, people know who I am, and our other partner, Alex Kramer, we've been in the industry for a long time, but no one had ever heard of Arival, and we kicked it off and we got 550 people the first year. I've heard it called the Woodstock moment of the tours and activities sector, which I love, of course. We doubled it the next year, and then we went to Berlin and we went to Bangkok, and all of a sudden we're a global event company, but still just focused on our sector. We do research for the sector, insights, and we are about to launch a digital community, and we're really excited about that.
Amazing. Bruce, I got to say, I've been in this industry over 20 some years myself. I've attended a lot of conferences for a lot of different reasons. Your conference that we attended, I believe it was the last in-person conference in Orlando. That was one of my favorite conferences of all time. You guys really put on a great show. How do you guys get the ideas for what you're going to do? And how do you guys come up with the ideas in terms of the speakers and the format? And who's in charge of putting that all together?
Yeah, great question, Alan. And, the time that Douglas and I spent at Focusrite was a great breeding ground for best practices to run conferences, highly produced. We spend a lot of money, probably too much money, and I promise we will spend less money this year on our AV production. But we want to put on a show. We want people to really feel like it's a show. As far as getting the speakers and the content, Douglas drives that, and he can pick up the phone and call the CEO of any company in this industry, and they will answer his call. And if he invites them to speak, they'll want to speak. Being on the Arival stage is something that people want to do to show their credibility and their thought leadership in the industry. We don't pay for speakers like a lot of conferences do. We never have, and we never will. And we just, as the hub of the industry, attract the best speakers. Our job is to come up with the topic and make sure the topic is highly relevant for our audience. And then we work with our speakers to make sure that they can really talk about those topics from a thought leadership perspective without pitching their own company, which they never would when they're on our stage. And then work with the rest of our team to create the event. So content is only part of it, right? Like the biggest thing at an Arival event is the Arival Lounge, which the networking lounge that we created as a different way for exhibitors to actually do business. And the exhibitors have tiny little booths. They're not big exhibits. Everyone has the same size booth. So a startup or a trip school can look the same size as a Viator. And people really appreciate that. And the lounge buzzes. We have couches and, lots of comfortable seating, coffee everywhere. And it's just a comfortable place to do business. And as you guys know, because you've been there, the networking lounge just buzzes during the entire event.
Not only that, but you throw fantastic sponsored parties in the evening. It's just, there's so many chances to connect. And that leads me to sort of the question, if I'm new to Arival and I'm a small operator or a medium business, what am I going to get out of the event? In other words, why should I come?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Mitch, for that. And, it does depend who you are and what you know. I think the primary thing, and really what I call the secret sauce, the magic of Arival, is peer-to-peer learning. And I remember so clearly our first ever party. Like you said, we throw great parties. We're on this rooftop in Vegas, and I met Luciano from Tours by Locals for the first time. And he was so excited. He's like, oh my God, everyone is here. And we all do the same thing. And everyone can learn from each other. So if you're a food tour company in Barcelona and you meet up with a food tour company from New York, or a biking company in Boston meets a biking company in North Carolina, you have so much in common. You can learn from each other. So you're not just learning from what we're trying to produce as content. Peer-to-peer learning is really that secret sauce of Arival, and the connections that are made, it goes in and extends well beyond the event itself. So that would be the first thing, is get involved in the community of people who do what you do and get inspired by those people. And there's just so many examples of people that love to talk about that. So that's number one, right? Peer-to-peer learning, meeting people. And then there's obviously the content that we put together, where we find some of the best experts in the things that we think are most important: digital marketing, distribution, things like that, connectivity, of course, reservation technology. And we make sure all the leaders are there. And we have breakout and workshops to help training on those things, and business development. I'm the kind of person that when I go to a conference, I'm there to do business. That's what I want from a conference. Douglas is the kind of person where he wants the best content in the world. We want both. So I believe firmly that if you are in our sector and you want to do business, i.e. connect with ResTech, distributors, other operators, potential partners, marketing companies, that's what Arival set up for you to do.
I'm curious, COVID has obviously been a huge impact in our industry. We've seen our industry sort of just go away right in front of our eyes. And with that, you still put on a conference. It went to virtual, and Trip School was honored to be a small part of that success. But it was a success. The feedback we got from our community and others was how amazing this online conference was. How did you pivot so quickly to go from an in-person incredible event to an online event?
Well, thank you for that. And we did. So the immediate pivot was webinars. Literally by mid-March, we started webinars 2 to 3 times a week. And we were getting 200, 300, 400, 500, up to 1,000, 1,200 people attending our webinars right out of the gate, right? And then, of course, Zoom fatigue hits, and there's so much free content out there. It became, kind of just tough to even get attention from people. But our quality of speaker, our quality of, we always still look at production value, quality, definitely rose above the rest. But then it became time to really look at a virtual conference. I've personally been studying virtual conferences since March 1st, as has my partner, Lynn Fetterman, who's really more on our tech side. And she started looking at platforms while we were in Berlin, because we knew we needed the right platform that could do what we wanted to do. We found, after looking at well over 50 platforms, the one that we thought would work. It did work. And we really understood what we needed to do to create engagement. What I talk about with virtual events, content is king, engagement is queen. Engagement is all it's about. We've all sat on webinars. We've all sat now on virtual events. Our main competition is email, right? Or other things that people can do when they're on a virtual event. How do we get people not to go onto their email, but stay focused on the event. And I believe we've done some things that have really nailed that. And the response we get from the attendees, sponsors who have really driven successful ROI, tells us that we're on the right track. And, and I keep hearing that our virtual events are the best virtual events that people sit on. And, I don't want to just blow our horn on that, but I think it's true.
So before we finish by asking you what's next for Arival, I just wanted to take a moment for you to tell us, what were you doing before Focusrite, before Arival? Who is Bruce Rosard?
Well, multifaceted, but from a business perspective, I literally started my own business as I graduated college a long, long time ago. And I was a tour operator. And maybe that's something people don't realize, but I ran a ski travel company for over 20 years. And we built it to be one of the most successful ski travel companies in the US. We built a website in 1994. So starting really at the dawn of the World Wide Web, we had a website. And I also bought into a company called All Adventure Travel. So we are a wholesaler for adventure travel. And by being online that early, I really became passionate about online travel. So if you said, what's your main passion in business? It's online travel. And that's how we built Moguls, was the name of my company, to be one of the largest ski tour companies in the US. I sold that company, joined Focusrite. I mentioned that's where I met Douglas, and got out of just the ski industry and got into the overall travel industry, focused on, again, the intersection of travel and internet. That was the focus for Focusrite. And that's where I spent all my time, really kind of growing outside of ski and into travel in general. Left after we sold Focusrite. I left the company. And then a few years later, Douglas came up with the idea for Arival, and I joined him and Alex as a co-founder, and spent since 2017 working on Arival.
Great. So without further ado, you've spent a year doing webinars, virtual conferences. Where is this all leading for 2021 and beyond for Arival?
Yeah, well, obviously we want to get to live events, and that's the bottom line for us, but we can't. So what are we going to do? We knew from day one that we needed to be a digital company, but as we were growing pretty fast, we went from one event a year in the US up to 3, including Asia and Europe, within 3 years. We just didn't have time to really focus on digital. So I do talk about, the lemons of COVID turning into the lemonade of giving us time to take a step back and create a digital business. So that's what we've done. We're launching it right now as a membership program. It's called Arival Insiders. And basically think of it as a way to take advantage of everything we're going to create in 2021, with a few exceptions. There's a few things that we're keeping outside the membership program, but all of our research included, all of our Excel series, the series of masterclasses and forums, at least 8 events that we're creating included. Discounts on our Orlando live event, discounts on 2 Arival 360 events that we're doing. Different types of benefits, some other special things that we haven't announced yet, but will be soon, to make people feel like they're a member of this community when they're not at a live event. There are, as of 2019, according to our research, 1 million operators in this business around the world. There will never be any small percentage of that come to our live events. We know that. So how do we reach them with the kind of content, the kind of information, the community that we want to create for the sector? Obviously, it's digital, and the Insiders membership plan is the beginning of that.
Well, we're really excited to be one of the tiny percent of people that hopefully will see you live this year. Until then, we look forward to all of your new insider content, and a huge thank you for being with us today.
Mitch, Alan, thank you guys. We love Trip School. Look forward to partnering with you more and more in the future, including co-locating a Trip School event at Orlando. We're all keeping our fingers crossed. Orlando is going to be live, and I'm pretty confident that it will. So we'll see you there.
Bruce, thank you so much. And guys, if you like our interviews, make sure you subscribe to our channel and like our videos. And thanks for watching.